Hello everybody, this is Shawna L. Francis and today is March 19th, 2023. If you are new to my channel and this is the first time that you're seeing me, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here. I am a conscious channel. I channel all kinds of beings from the other side of the veil. Most recently, I'm channeling Queen Elizabeth. A lot of the themes that I'm working on right now as part of my larger mission are talking about the negative reptilian influence on the planet. Negative reptilian influence. This is an off-planet species who has been subjugating humanity for thousands and thousands of years. So through my work and my mission, working with these higher dimensional beings, whether that be the Galactic Federation of Light, Melchizedek, who is a collective of higher dimensional beings who are helping to support humanity, many others. I am really working on behalf of the light as a light worker, helping to bring awareness right now, just awareness to this idea that humanity is under the control and influence of the horrific negative reptilian regime here. So I know that that's a lot, and that's okay. And I want to also just state that before I get into the content of this channeling from today, that I have the utmost respect and love for anyone who has been impacted by the tragedy that is the missing Malaysia Airlines MH370 back from March of 2014. I'm so sorry, guys, for your loss. I'm so sorry if any of you watching this video knew people or had friends or loved ones on that plane, or if your life was somehow impacted negatively by that. Of course, the whole world was impacted by what happened there. I remember back in 2014 watching that intently, keeping up with the news on what was going on, trying to help, figure out what had gone on with that flight and the 239 people on board. So here I am today. A little bit of background here. I was actually flipped on Netflix last night, and I hardly ever watch television, once a week, if that, a couple times a month. And what was presented was the new Netflix, I think it's new, actually, I'm not sure if it's new. The Netflix series, I think there's a 3-part series. I watched the first part on the disappearance of MH370. And it rekindled my interest in this event. I hadn't thought about it in a long time, but when that came up, I thought, I'm going to watch this. So I watched just the first episode. And toward the end of that video last night, I said, Melchizedek, who are my main guides right now, Melchizedek, I would love it if you could tell me what happened to that plane. What happened to those people? And so today I sat down, as I do every day, to meditate and to channel. And our guides Melchizedek came through, and we exchanged some pleasantries, and then they said, Shawna, would you like to talk about MH370? And I'm like, oh my gosh, I would love to. I actually had forgotten that I had requested that of them the night before, last night, I guess it was. I forgot that I had asked the team, like, I would love for you to tell me what happened to that flight. And sure enough, they came through and they told me, what they believe happened. And I want to just pass this along to all of you here. I'm not sure if it will provide any real closure. Again, there's no real proof here, but I do respect and honor what comes through my channelings. Melchizedek, they are an ancient collective of beings who have been working with humanity for a long time, and they're especially active with us right now as we head into the ascension. There's a lot of stuff there. So again, I'm glad that you're here. I do have like 300 videos on this channel. They're all free if you want to dive into some of the other work that I'm doing. All right, MH370. Here's what Melchizedek had to say to me today about this. They said, they said, do you want to talk about this? And I'm like, absolutely. I said I'd forgotten about asking you about that last night. I said, wonderful. They said, yes, Shawna. They said, that airplane did not vanish into thin air that night. Yes, it did crash into the ocean. And in my mind, I'm like, which ocean? Which ocean? And they said, the Indian Ocean. They said, this did crash into the ocean, the Indian Ocean. And the curious thing is that all the debris from the crash was cleaned up in a hurry, they said. So I'm like, okay, here we go. It did crash, according to Melchizedek. It did go down in the Indian Ocean. And I did a little bit more research before making this video, and I think that's the general consensus, is that that 370 made a U-turn and turned back around off course, kind of went a little bit up north and then flew south over the Indian Ocean, where it was, where it was thought to have crashed. So Melchizedek is actually confirming this. But here's what they have to say about it. Very fascinating. All right, so the plane crashed, the debris was cleaned up in a hurry. They said, Shawna, this aircraft was part of a larger ongoing experiment in mind control and technology control via the negative reptilians and their Greys counterparts. It was unfortunate that so many people perished as a result of this experiment, they said. The hive mind humans were sent to retrieve the debris in the Indian Ocean and dispose of it quickly. All right, so if you're new to my channel and you've not seen any of my conversations with the former Queen of Queen Elizabeth of the UK, then please, if this resonates, if this is feeling truthful to you, or it's interesting at least, I do recommend you go back and take a look at some of the previous videos I've done, 43 of them actually, just since January. So we have a lot of information coming through. So the negative reptilians that I spoke about have teamed up with the Greys, those aliens. They're working together. The Greys are bringing all kinds of technology to the negative reptilians and helping them with their agenda. Excuse me. Also, as part of their agenda, they have this control mechanism over some of the human population. They're calling this the hive mind control. So these are actual humans on the planet, but they have the genetic markers, the DNA makeup to be like the bloodline, to be susceptible to hive mind control via the negative reptilians. I know that's a lot. Okay, so that's basically what they're saying, that this was an experiment in mind control and technology control by this regime. Okay. The hive mind humans, they said, were sent to retrieve the debris in the Indian Ocean and dispose of it quickly. I said, well, how did they do that? I said, this doesn't make sense. This was a huge craft with huge parts. Shawna, they said, the biggest parts of the plane are indeed at the bottom of that ocean. What was left floating has been incinerated, they said. I said, so team, can someone still find the bigger parts, like the fuselage down at the bottom of the sea? And they said, yes, it would be possible, but very difficult. Okay, and I said, what happened? I said, why did this happen? And Melchizedek said, the negative reptilians and the Greys have been pushing their boundaries and limits in terms of control. This particular airplane on this particular route was chosen after careful deliberation. Middle of the night, a routine flight. Other electromagnetic reasons for the position of the plane's path over the Earth, they said. The negative reptilians and Greys wanted to know, with both mind control, the energy control, and the technical control techniques, could they reroute this plane? Basically, could they take over this plane from afar? And Melchizedek said, their answer was yes. Yes, this is possible. Yes, they did this. They did it successfully. They continued here. The pilots, unbeknownst to their conscious mind, subconsciously were subverted by the negative reptilians and greys who directed them to change course. The passengers on board were also manipulated in the same way, not to be alarmed, not even to notice the somewhat abrupt change of course. It's just, it's hard to imagine how this went down and how they could be capable of doing this. They said here, there were no SOS calls, no panic. The regime turned off all the sensors and went forward with this experiment. All 239 people on board were mind manipulated not to notice, not to care or to be alarmed about what the plane was doing. The plane made a big loop and flew over the Indian Ocean, where it ran out of fuel and crashed into the sea. Hive mind humans in large boats were on the scene within hours to clean up what was left on the surface, which wasn't much, relatively speaking, they said. I did read that they think that debris from this plane did wash up on some of these shores that circled the Indian Ocean, but I think there was some people weren't exactly sure that it was from MH370. I'm not sure how conclusive that was, but I suppose that there could have been debris that was missed, but there was a cover-up, a cleanup by the hive mind humans that happened right away. And remember, nobody was looking in the southern Indian Ocean at this point. It took many, many days for them to figure out that that plane had gone that route. Melchizedek continued here. Shawna, this was just setting a precedence that proved, yes, the regime was capable, was able to accomplish something like this. Likely, they are plotting other maneuvers and tactics to take advantage of this know-how. I said, thank you, team. I said, so this is disturbing, honestly. I said, if light workers would have been on that plane, could they have snapped out of that mind manipulation and done something? Or are humans just not capable of fighting an attack such as that? And they said, Shawna, yes, there are some people who would not succumb to this type of mind control. There would be a few, not many. By and large, this would almost always be successful for them. I said, that's terrible. I really, even just saying out loud again, I'm just, I can't believe they have this capability. I said, Melchizedek, what about pre-life choices on how we want to die in this lifetime? What here was premeditated by our oversouls, or the aspects of us coming back to embodiment on earth, versus what wasn't chosen by us on some level in this particular case? So my understanding here is that many times we have a blueprint here on the planet. As a human, we have a blueprint for our life. We know what we want to accomplish. We know what we want to learn. We know that there's certain karma that needs to be balanced out. We're paying back some karma possibly. So we create our life around these goals and objectives. And a lot of times we decide how we want to die. So I was just asking, did the 239 people on board that craft, did they choose that on some level before taking embodiment? And they said here, Shawna, these humans did not choose this for themselves. This was a blatant and egregious act of free will defiance. This was not in the passengers and crew's blueprint. And Queen Elizabeth today talked about free will defiance also. So I like how they're tying these two things together. I said, so this really is so very sad. I said, they did not choose this on any level. And they said, no, Shawna, they didn't. That is correct. And I said, what kind of effects, what kind of ripple effects does something like this have in the fabric of existence, in other people's blueprints, now completely impacted by this loss of life and this whole situation? So not only did it throw everybody on that plane off track from their blueprint, think of all the others impacted by this who are still on the planet. They said, Shawna, it is not minimal. This is a serious free will violation with large-scale impacts, as you mentioned. This kind of act puts many people's blueprints off track, which will continue to have downstream effects for future generations. The angels and guides work very diligently with the people impacted by something like this to help them get back on track and to help provide peace and healing. We intervene more impactfully than we would otherwise. Always though, we honor free will. I said, is this something that could be thwarted by the teams of light from not ever happening again? Now that you've seen what they've done, what they're capable of doing, can they be stopped from doing something like this again? And they said, yes, Shawna, that is ideal. That is the goal. Many watch them and monitor their actions closely. Okay. So it sounds like there could be kind of galactic, angelic, ascended master type intervention in the future for something like this with the negative reptilians. I said, what happens to those beings whose lives were lost that night? What happens to their souls, their energy, their essence? They said, Shawna, these beings go back to source to regroup, to rest, and to heal. There can be confusion in cases like this. Those on the other side of the veil who take care of such things were immediately on hand to assist those humans back to wholeness and understanding after a very confusing and abrupt transition. Then they reintegrate into the normal life cycle and process. Life, death, life cycle and process. Okay. I said, team, is there anything you can say to the surviving friends and family who are still grieving to this day for their losses and their lack of closure? And they said here, Shawna, we'd say to these beautiful souls, take care in knowing that your loved ones are well. They are at peace. Please allow the love and gentle nurturing of your inner selves, your inner knowing, and your teams of light to help place you back into the flow of love and peace. Seek ways to forgive and accept, even when it is difficult to understand. Even when hanging on to the pain seems to be the only way you can continue to honor those who perished. Release your anger, fear, sadness, and despair, and consider that all will be coming back to balance. This is the path that humanity is on right now, and nothing will stop this realignment to wholeness. Ask for help and be open to receive the help that comes your way. Release the need to control outcomes. Know yourself is free and loved so very much. Understand that the burden of guilt, anger, and remorse that you may still be carrying today may have been useful to you at one point, but now take stock of what and who you are. Consider your health and your well-being. Consider your peace and acceptance. Ask yourself, what has run its course? What no longer serves my highest good? And go from there in love. I said, thank you, Melchizedek. I said, shall I share this in a video today or another day? And they said, if you wish. I said, thank you. I said, I'm very glad to know what happened, as hard as it is to hear this and to know this. All right, guys. Well, that is all that came through on the MH370 disappearance. Again, I'm so sorry if you are impacted by all of this. And I hope this brings, well, some understanding and some peace. Okay, thanks for being here. Thank you for watching. Please stay tuned. More to come. Love you all. Mwah.